So stay tuned still out as we bring you this full coverage of MICAT press briefing.
We'd like to thank you, members of the press, for taking all the time yesterday for a special press conference, and today our regular Tuesday press briefing. This afternoon, I'd like to inform you that the Commission for Cultural Affairs and Tourism of the Olympic MAPUCA was away from national duty. The Deputy Minister of Administration, Hon.J, is in charge of the ministry as the acting Minister of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism. The Principal Deputy Spokesperson of the government is Hon.J. Cyrus. He comes from the national podium, make his introductory comments, or possibly after which we will officially introduce to you our guest for today's press briefing, Mr. Cyrus. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to all of you, members of the press. We want to welcome those who are following via the social media community radio stations across the country, and of course, the state broadcaster EABC. We want to welcome all of you to this regular edition of the MICAT Press briefing. We're here yesterday because the executive submitted the budget to the legislature. It's customary that when the budget is submitted, the Minister of Finance comes here and gives some basic explanation of the programs and other initiatives that are captured within the budget. So we did that yesterday, and we thank all of you who took up the time, honoring our invitation on a very short notice. Our conference was very successful. And I should give you the trend of the conversation on the radio, social media. Liberians from all walks of life do appreciate what yesterday's press conference was all about. Today we are here to continue to bring you real-time information on the workings of the Liberian government from various sectors. And this press briefing, we have a room guest, and this is the first time here since he assumed the responsibility at the National Fisheries and Aquaculture Authority. Mr. Cyrus Saygbe is a consummate professional, a project management expert, has works of experience from the private sector before he was brought into mainstream government just a couple of months ago by His Excellency President Waka, owing to the fact that he has got a lot to offer his country. So Mr. Cyrus Saygbe is the Director General of the National Fisheries and Aquaculture Authority. He's here with his team, and I'm sure he will make the proper introduction of members of his senior management team that have accompanied him here. The Saygbe and team, we want to welcome all of you to the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism. Welcome to your daily appearance at the MICAT press briefing. Of course, you are a religious follower of this press conference. And so we're happy to have you here today. So Mr. Saygbe has come to provide updates on the progress made so far at the Fishery Authority, but specifically he will lay out the activities leading to the official celebration of World Fishing Day He will also provide details on the upcoming commissioning ceremony of Liberia's first fiberglass semi-industrial fishing vessel by His Excellency President Joseph Boakai Sr. He will give highlights on the National Fish Market Project and also provide key information on the National Fishery Investment Conference. So those are the thematic areas that we expect or Saygbe to base this presentation on. And I show that all of you here will follow and pay keen attention to the issues that he will talk about so that we can be able to ask your question appropriately. Before we invite Mr. Saygbe to the podium, we have to clear the decks of the Ministry of Information on certain issues that are happening in the country. So the government came to power. Who was that? Where? Who is Kevin?
One of the journalists. Let's take it from there. You have to take it from there. Please. Take it off.
The government came to power on a slew of promises. And key among those promises was to fight against corruption. The president has taken the bull by the horn by setting up the relevant structures, by giving the anti-graft institutions the free hand to operate, void of any presidential influence. And so the fight against corruption is on. We can see that heads are being rolled. No stone is being left unturned. Because in the thinking of this administration, corruption is the reason why our national development has been stagnated. And so the fight against corruption is on, and the public can rest assured that the government headed by His Excellency President Joseph Boakai Sr. will leave no stone unturned in its quest for accountability and transparency. For too long, Liberia has been victimized by acts of public corruption, which has been nurtured by an entrenched culture of impunity. But the time has come, as promised by President Boakai during the campaign, for individuals who abuse public office resources and amass unexplained wealth to be held to account. Against this backdrop, the Asset Recovery and Property Retrieval Task Force, which was constituted by His Excellency in May of 2014, has announced indictment in two major cases. These indictments reveal a pattern of criminality in which former officials of the Liberia government abuse power and influence for personal gains. So the first case, which they have concealed an indictment in, is the case involving the former chief of protocol $1,040. Money laundering. Key individuals involved in our case include the former Chief of Protocol, Madam Laura Bono, along with the CEO and manager of Anita Group of Companies, or Gracious Rad, and Masako Auto Service Incorporated, and 40 others. It is being alleged that the Anita Group of Company and Gracious Rad was used as funds to siphon millions of dollars in public funds. So the pieces of evidence in the case are very clear. Sometimes we talk about left star audits. John Brown used to live downtown in a one room, and the moment he's appointed to a position, he started to build duplex, apartment complexes. The left star change. How come? Overnight. So if making life in government was that easy, why is it that I don't leave government poor? So Madam Bono, for example, prior to coming into public office, she had no sufficient assets. But during her tenure, it has been reported by the asset recovery team that she acquired over $6.7 billion and $845 million Liberian, including multiple high-level properties and 42 vehicles. How come? So just by the change in left star, while you acquire in office, over a short period of time alone, will tell you that something fishy is happening. So they will be charged, they have been charged for money laundering, theft of property, misuse of public monies, criminal conspiracy, and other financial crimes. The second case involves theft of property, MDNC, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Key figures involved in our case have been indicted: Madam Telman Duncan Sawyer, former Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, and Mr. John S. Ibuti, is the CEO of MICAT Press Incorporated. Yesterday, Mr. Ibuti had a press conference. I don't know why he was explaining, but you, the press, were there. But the allegations against him are based on the fact that a contract for the renovation of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs was fully paid for in the tune of $1.95 million. But guess what? Only 56% of the work was completed. The source of the funding, the money was part of the donation from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, intended for the government of Liberia renovations and disaster relief. So people say in our country, they raise the taxpayer money, and they say Liberia is an undeveloped country. They got problems, they got disaster problems. Let's help them. When the money comes, we divert to the personal use. If you do not complete the renovation work, we divert the money. So what is unaccounted for here is $851,136. This is the amount that was effectively stolen according to the asset recovery team. the work was not done. You've been charged for theft of property and criminal facilitation. The asset recovery team re-emphasized that its work is purely patriotic and not political. It insists that it will follow where the evidence leads. We have to add that these crimes deprive the Liberian people of the resources needed for essential services like education, healthcare, and infrastructure. The asset recovery team had cases summing up to 40. And this is just 2 of the cases in which indictment has been secured from the court. So we spoke to the Solicitor General of the country this morning, and they informed us that argument in the case involving the former Finance Minister, Mr. Sandra Tuel, the appellant, petitioners, and defendant, Sandra D. Tuel et al., supposed to take place this morning. Of course, it's already concluded, I'm being told, at the Honorable Supreme Court. Mr. Tuel and co-defendants contend that their action to have stolen $6.1 million from public coffers was based on national security matters. They insist that they cannot be prosecuted nor be held accountable before any court in the Republic, because according to them, the action they acted on in the interest of national security. So they moved to the Supreme Court, asking the court to declare that criminal action to have stolen $6.1 million from public coffers as an act of national security. That argument will be dealt by the Supreme Court. But I'm saying this to mean that the fight against corruption has got a long way to go. That people will come into government and knowingly, deliberately, intentionally do what is against the law. Go to the court in the bed and say, yes, we took this money, but our action is called for national security, and so give us immunity. It's hard time that we begin to see the fight against corruption as not just an initiative of the executive branch. It has to be holistic. It has to be holistic. And this is why we have continuously called on the courts, the judiciary, to be expeditious in handling some of these matters. Because all I see in this case here is people are just buying time. Buying time. You go to the court, you admit that you say you committed a crime. Allow the court to decide the matter of the merits. But every now and then you go to the Supreme Court on favorable motion. When it's over, when you come back, when the case is proceeding, you come back and file another motion. Then you are unofficially in expedition. If you believe that your action is caused by immunity, or you acted on some security nature, then the court will tell you. The state has said that your action was clearly ultra-virus, out of bounds. But I'm a member of the joint security. Even the FIA that you use to siphon this money from the government of Liberia is not a member of the national security.
So we'll bring you follow-up. Being told that if I did not motion to withdraw the petition, I will have to follow the office of the Solicitor General to know how authentic that is. But the Liberian people are watching. The president has done his part. I have always said that government is not just the president. Government is about the three branches that are laid out in the Constitution. So when the president is exercising the political will to even suspend these members of his own party, who I believe to have gotten involved in something unconventional, the court has got the order as well. It's good that we're now considering, I listened to one of the senators this morning talking about a bill is on the floor to create a fast track code for corruption. That would be good. We will have a fast track code for corruption. The LACC, the GAC, all of these anti-graft institutions will not struggle to get indictment from criminal to A or criminal to C. Let me start there. The people of Oroville launched its 5-year strategic plan, and of course, implementation of that plan has commenced. And the National Port Authority has commenced for implementation of its reset agenda, which outlines a comprehensive roadmap to diversify revenue sources, modernize port infrastructure, and strengthen financial sustainability. All departments have begun aligning their operational plans with the 5 thematic pillars of the strategic plan, emphasizing port modernization, capacity building, and digital transformation. Work has started on developing and monitoring the evaluation framework to ensure timely tracking of targets and measurable progress across all departments in the port. Port infrastructure and rehabilitation projects. Freeport of Monrovia, ongoing progress on the 24-hour port lightning and navigation system to improve night operations and maritime safety. Rehabilitation of the LMC and BMC piers is also underway to ease congestion and enhance vessel turnaround times. On the Port of the County, the MPA has completed the bid review process for the construction of a modern administrative building by January 2026. On the Port of Greenville, rehabilitation of the administrative building is at 85%, signaling major improvement in port operations. On the Port of Harbor, engineering assessments are ongoing to identify structural priorities for rehabilitation and ensure long-term operational sustainability. International Development Partnership. Managing Director of Sekou Duty participated in a high-level mission to Morocco, where discussions with Tinkermed Engineering advanced a framework for technical cooperation, infrastructure planning, and the completion of the MPA master plan, including the 25-year market study. Follow-up communication are ongoing with Make Group Korea to support future investment in digital port systems and smart logistics infrastructure, capacity development and technology transfer. Over 20 MPA employees have been sponsored to pursue master programs in regional maritime university in Ghana, specializing in diverse areas of maritime administration and management. Locally, the MBA continues to roll out in-house training and professional development programs to strengthen institutional capacity, improve performance, and ensure a competent workforce capable of meeting modern port standards. The DEA is doing extremely well, and as we know by now, they are on the highway running some consignment of illegal substances that were seized. Yesterday, they issued a major report, and I just want to give you highlights in that report. Yesterday, they reported a major progress in anti-drug crackdown with 78 suspects filed into court for prosecution from September to October 2025. And this is across all 15 counties within Liberia. They have seized, the other day, the President issued a statement that mandates the LDA, the Liberian government, law enforcement authority, to confiscate properties that will be used for conveying, selling, and distribution of drugs. So 6 vehicles, 10 motorbikes, 2 property have been seized. And they also legal hotspots for the trafficking of drugs in Monrovia as Bushra Island in Painesville, Grand Cape Mount, and Sandal. So they are currently on the highway, Disco Hill, and bringing all of the drugs that were seized over the time. And media, civil society, and development partners are invited. The DEA have also set up 14 peer educators club in 15 schools, set up 10 community anti-drug action committee in Muscat County. On the drug testing, 406 officers tested across 5 counties, 10 positives leading to indefinite suspension pending review. Last day before to take the Director General, there have been some reform going on at the National Stadium, led by the Ministry of Youth and Sports, and as part of the commissioning of the 4 lights at the SKD Sports Complex, they changed all the 4 lights from analog to digital lights. The Ministry has arranged a series of activities. There will be an exhibition. There will be some exhibition matches on Friday, November 14, 2025, at 5 p.m. where Ambassa County will play Muscat County, and Lofa County will play Nimba County at 7 p.m. The event will be powered or sponsored by Orange Liberia and Orange Money. That note, I will now take a pause and invite the Honorable Saygbe to the microphone.
The Honorable Acting Minister, Johnny Tapway, the Honorable Deputy Minister, Daniel Sandal, Honorable Lawrence, am I that shot? The Honorable Rufus Paul, kindly allow me to just introduce colleagues that have come along from the National Fisheries and Aquaculture Authority. We have Anthony Abraham Dia, who is the project coordinator for the World Bank funded Liberia Fisheries Management Project. We also have Austin Saygbe, Director of Research and Statistics at NaFAA. We have Sekula Vani, who is Director for Human Resources, and my able Chief of Staff is Ali. Members of the press, fisher folks in ready land, Liberians home and abroad listening, private partners who continue to support this sector, It is a very pleasant pleasure to be here to interact with the media, having assumed office 7 months ago at the National Fisheries and Aquaculture Authority. Allow me to start to describe how we met National Fisheries and Aquaculture Authority. If we all know what an Edo soup is, do we all know what an Edo soup is? Wonderful. Looks very calm on the top, very cold on the top, but hot at the bottom. That's how we met NaFAA. When we assumed office in March 2025, we incurred or inherited a $3.1 million liability. Also, government institutions, vendors, international partners, and others. We met a bank balance of $350,000 US. That should tell you that we were headed for a rough road against a liability of $3.1 million. Paradoxically, in 2018, when the National Bureau of Fisheries was transformed to NaFAA, my predecessor met a bank balance of little over $1 million US with zero liabilities. So that should also tell you that the National Bureau of Fisheries actually kicked off far before NaFAA was established by the Act of Legislature in 2017. We believe that we had a huge task to accomplish. And so with approval from the Board of Directors, we quickly transferred all of the liabilities to the General Auditing Commission for verification of those liabilities. Those liabilities are being verified in the 2024 audit that is presently ongoing at NaFAA. What we also met was a staff workforce that were demoralized and disenchanted. Demoralized because of work environment, demoralized because of ill treatment, demoralized because of the kind of culture that was exhibited at NaFAA. Several employees were wrongfully dismissed. And even though they were wrongfully dismissed, they took redress at the labor court and won their cases. And so we had a challenge to be able to discuss with them, negotiate with them on payment terms, and reinstated all of those staff that were wrongfully dismissed. That enabled us to see how well we could create trust again in the workforce. What we also did immediately to be able to reawaken and resuscitate the workforce, we quickly organized what we call a general staff retreat to just allow staff to pull out their hearts and tell us what is it that they were dissatisfied with and how we could address the situation. And so we hosted a staff retreat in May 2025 together with what we call a pause and reflect. That led to hearing from the staff, and we have a very common story called the rotten tomatoes. So every time you walk in NaFAA fence, you are asked whether you've taken away or thrown away your rotten tomatoes. When we assumed office, there were a lot of inefficiencies in operations. Generators were shut down when the head of the institution was not around. Offices were opened, staff were going to work from 10 o'clock in the morning and were leaving at 2 o'clock. Because obviously, if we do not have power and internet connectivity, it was just useless for staff to be around. When we took over, we quickly instituted measures to ensure that staff were punctual. And so we've commenced work from 8:30 in the morning to 5 o'clock, ensuring that power was stable. internet connectivity was restored. We also introduced what we call the weekly technical meetings from senior managers. That meeting allows senior managers to provide the work plan for the week and report against their progress. That was a way to keep them moving on with their daily activities. We quickly also introduced what we call the general staff meeting monthly. At the general staff meeting, we then introduced the Staff of the Month Performance Award. And to date, we've been able to identify 7 of NaFAA staff who received that recognition on a monthly basis. Whether I'm around or not, that process goes on. And thanks to these great people seated here and all other staff. We had about 38 staff that were on contractual services from 2018-2019 up to 2024-5. That was inhuman. You cannot keep someone on contract for over 6 years. And so in our 2026 budget, we began allocating resources to ensure that after we've done evaluation of those staff, definitely we have them incorporated as permanent staff of NaFAA. We met in NaFAA wherein staff salaries were deducted based on required norms, that is through taxes, income taxes, and social security. But those taxes were never remitted to national government. Income taxes were deducted from staff, but never remitted. Social security withholdings were deducted, but never remitted. And so as at January, when we took over in March 2025, we began to do back payments for all withholding taxes to the Liberia Revenue Authority and NASCA. We are trying our best to become current before the end of the year because we have to pay it back from January. And we believe that that was very critical to ensure that if staff begin to look for the retirement, definitely will have resources to take home. There have been several audit recommendations provided to the previous administration to transition from the old traditional accounting system to a new one called the IFRS. 3 different audit recommendations instituted that, unfortunately, not one was adhered to. 2 months ago, we embarked on the process, recruited a firm to now transition from ASA to IFRS, which is the new accounting system that has been recommended by the General Auditing Commission. I want to, in this public manner, officially thank the Internal Audit Agency for providing one of the best internal auditor at NaFAA. It can be really seen that we're beginning to put systems in place and beginning to do away with business as usual. Since NaFAA was established in 2017 by the act of the legislature and kicked off in 2018, staff were never benefiting from insurance. And so all staff at NaFAA were only given stipends of $75 every month for medical. We felt that that was not sufficient. We felt that staff needed to have well-covered insurance. And so when we took over, we quickly embarked on getting an insurance company to cover insurance at NaFAA. Starting December 1, 2025, all staff and their immediate family members will benefit from full insurance. We also have our seagoers, that is our observers who go on the vessel. They stay up to maybe 30 days, 45 days, because they want to make sure there are no illegal practices happening on those vessels. Those seagoers never had life insurance. As at December 1, 2025, all of our seagoers observers will have full life insurance to cover. When we assumed office, there were other complications as it relates to providing permits, import permits to companies who were importing fish in Liberia. Those import permits took up to 3 weeks to be issued. When we took over, we saw a very low-hanging fruit. We quickly worked with our technicians and our staff to officially launch what we call the Fisheries Information Management System. That system was supported by the World Bank and developed in 2022, was never utilized. And so we quickly launched it, allowing now vendors to get the import permits from 3 weeks to 48 hours. And so you do not have now to walk to NaFAA and ask for your bills. You can sit in the comfort of your home, the comfort of your offices, apply for your permit, and get your permit online. And so there's no middleman. No one telling you again, if you don't give me a small thing, I won't clear your permit. So we have to eradicate that. So the things has been launched and is in full swing. That's a way to digitize our system and ensure that the issue of interferences with private companies, creating the business environment to be much more favorable. We are quickly redesigning the NaFAA website. Currently, when you visit the NaFAA website, you will find out that it is less interactive. And so we're working with our partners to see how we can make it much more friendly, more informative, and resourceful for our partners and others. We assume a workforce of 203 staff. 90% of them based in Montserrat. And so when you walk to our offices today, you will find people almost seated on each other. What we did quickly was to develop a decentralization plan and work with our partners to be able to start sourcing avenues for decentralization of our staff. Liberia has 9 coastal counties, and in those 9 coastal counties, we are actively in those counties. And we should be working with our fisher folks, providing them the needed services that they need, instead of sitting in Monrovia and then networking with them. And so, by June 2026, NaFAA will open its first regional office in Harper, Maryland County. The rationale for that is to be able to closely monitor the waters between Cote d'Ivoire and Liberia, where we are experiencing a lot of illegal fishing for migrant vessels coming from Liberia, depleting our resources and taking them back. And so we're going to establish a full fisheries monitoring center in Harper, Maryland County. We want to thank the superintendent in this manner for providing us an opportunity. We want to thank the World Bank by start the reconstruction of the NaFAA full office in Maryland. We've earmarked 4 different regional offices. So Maryland will be the first. We'll have another one in Buffalo, another one in Grand Bassa, and then another one coming up in Cape Mount. And those will be on a yearly basis as we source funding. Through the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, we are now trying to construct 17 what we call the FTTs. Those are modern fish processing centers. A lot of our fish mongers, that is the women who buy the fish and sell it, have been struggling using the wood to dry the fish. And so with our partners, we felt that there was a need to preserve the forest and develop something much more improved, much more advanced. And so the FTTs are being constructed across the country, 17 of those. We are hoping that before the end of December, we have completed all of those constructions so that our mothers in the rural areas can have much better area to be able to process the fish. A lot of them are gaining attraction from international buyers. And so that quality that comes up will be very, very ideal for consumption. Through the Environmental Justice Foundation that is supported by the European Union, 5 offices were constructed in 5 different counties for a group we call the Collaborative Management Associations. And these are people that work closely with NaFAA to help provide community science programs help provide extension services, help to monitor our fishing folks. And those officers will be some of the areas for decentralization. Now, let's see where are we going strategically. Through our partners again, we've been able to work on developing a 10-year strategic plan for the sectors. We believe that the sector should go beyond government. The sector should look at where we intend to be in 10 years in the advancement of our fisheries. And so the 10-year strategic plan is currently being developed. We are hoping to have it officially launched in February 2026. Coupled with that, an investment plan is also underway together with an aquaculture strategy. A lot of time we focus more on marine than fish farming, and which of course fish farming serves a greater purpose. And so we began to balance it to ensure that we invest a lot more into fish farming to complement for marine fisheries. Liberians, members of the press in Radio Land, our present fish population, that is for surface species, stands around 253 metric tons. That is for our deep water, apologies. For our surface species, it's around 94,000 metric tons. But out of those, we are just harvesting 53,000 metric tons every year. Out of that 53,000 metric tons yearly, 17,000 of those are offloaded in Senegal, in Guinea, and in Ghana. The reason is that Liberia does not have a dedicated fishing port. So those tuna vessels have to go to other shores to offload. Liberia is losing millions of revenue on export. We are also losing the issue of jobs creation. And so together with the World Bank, we are now designing a shovel-ready fishing port. That port design should be ready by the end of December. Once completed, we're going to begin rigorous resource mobilization to raise the $26 million to erect a fishing port. We've done the math. Just from job creation, if that port is constructed, we're talking about between 2,000 to 2,300 new jobs in the sector. And that is something that the country needs at its most. Police, fish farming constitutes just 2,000 metric tons as compared to other countries, which is very, very low. I don't know how many of us have eaten tilapia and catfish from Liberia, but I know when you travel to Ghana, you travel to Cote d'Ivoire, you travel to other countries, you crave for tilapia because the way it is prepared. We want to bring that home. And quickly, what we've done through the help of the superintendent of Nima County, we've secured 30 acres of land to build the first integrated industrial fish farm. That farm will be able to provide at least between 80 to 100 jobs. That farm will be a model that we use to replicate in 4 other counties. That farm will be integrated in a way that will have value addition. We are now talking about producing fish powder so that our school feeding program can benefit from it. Fish oil, fish chips, and those are ways we want to add value to tilapia. I know many Liberians will say buka, 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 but now the name has changed. Now we say it is, because it is being cultured. It's no longer growing at the backyard or at the back toilet. It's now being cultured. And so the fish farming is going on across the country. And that farm in Saniquele, Nima County, being supported through the OPEC funded project, will definitely give an eye-opener for us to replicate in other counties. Despite the country's abundant population, we still import around 17,000 metric tons of fish every year. Our target from now to 2029 is to significantly reduce that number to 3,900. One of the ways we want to do it is to make sure we have these integrated farms across Liberia, so that every farm will contribute to the overall production of our fish. We've been discussing with our partners, a lot of the fish importers, and they are ready to become off-takers of those tilapia and catfish. We've also been having a series of discussions with our police in Cote d'Ivoire. Cote d'Ivoire import 90% of the tilapia from China. And so if they can get it from Liberia, fresh, definitely that's a market to tap into. And so we're doing everything to ensure that we have that. One of the ways we've been able to try to introduce and increase production in our local harvest is the introduction of what we call the semi-industrial fisheries. We've introduced the semi-industrial fisheries, and one of those vessels, I'm proud to announce that in the next 1 hour 30 minutes, that vessel should be sailing in Liberia. That vessel was constructed in Oman, valued around $800,000+. And that vessel has a capacity of 200,000 metric tons. What we are doing from the NaFAA perspective is to now recruit a company, a private company, that will operationalize the vessel. And so the President, His Excellency, will be commissioning that vessel on November the 24th at the Montserrat Pier. We are excited because that is Liberia's first fiberglass. That is a technology made out of plastic but firm. Durability is long-term. Maintenance costs, very low. Has its own compartment. And so we are encouraging Liberian companies to take advantage and get into the industry. Please, take advantage of it. We want Liberians to be a part of this. A few years back, prior to the war, we had the famous Maserati group of companies. Liberian owned. We can still come back, and that's why we are introducing the semi-industrial fisheries. If we pilot it and this works, we're going to be replicating it and getting additional ones coming forth. Police infrastructure gap is hampering the sector, and so we are very intentional to improve the infrastructure. Through the OPEC-funded project, in Maryland and Grand Crew, we will be constructing what we refer to as integrated fish landing sites. Those sites will provide ice making machines for our fisher folks, so that when they are going on sea, they have ice to carry, to preserve their fish. And when they come back, definitely they have somewhere to store their fish, even when it is not ready to be sold. And so 2 of those will be constructed. We've identified the land. Feasibility study will kick off by next month to be able to get those done. We're also working towards value addition for marine fisheries. And so in Grand Bassa, the first fish processing factory under this administration will kick off. We've already working towards recruiting a firm that will do the feasibility study for the fish processing factory in Grand Bassa. Companies have begun expressing their interest to operationalize it once it is up and running. Export is a major issue. You only export to foreign countries when you have good quality assurance. Again, through our partners, we will be constructing a competent fish laboratory. We are working with the Liberia Standard Authority. We've identified the land. Feasibility study will be starting next month. And so we want to get a competent fish laboratory, get Liberians who will be technicians to be able to run that with the Liberia Standard Authority. We did an MOU with the Standard Authority for us to co-manage and run the lab. That lab will create certification mechanism for our customers, our many partners who want to export fish to Europe and other countries. We believe that at the high standard of quality, they are going to get premium prices. This month is a basic month for NaFAA, the National Fisheries and Aquaculture Authority. Liberia will be celebrating for the first time World Fisheries Day, an event that is celebrated around the world in fishing communities. The essence of that is to look at the group of folks we call the unsung heroes of our time, our fish mothers. Those fish mothers go on the beach in the evening hours, buy the fish, put it on their head, come to town. All we want, fish should be on our table, but they go through a lot. Our fishermen that leave early in the morning, go on the sea, whether the wave is rough or calm, they are there trying to catch fish to bring it back home. They leave midnight, go and set their nets, come back. These are the people who are going to be celebrating World Fisheries Day. Our partners as well, those who pay their resources, make sure that fish is on the market available. We're going to be celebrating that. And so there are a series of events, and this celebration will be under the Liberian theme, Sustaining Fisheries, Securing Livelihoods. Series of events have been planned. On the 15th of this month, we have an interaction with our fishing community in Robertsport, Grand Cape County. We have football, volleyball, kickball, canoe race. Games will be there. We want to thank the Minister of Youth and Sports, Councillor Jericho Bangalin, and his technical team for facilitating those games. The games will feature the Maritime Authority, although they are the defending champion for the Interministerial League, but because NaFAA wasn't in the league this year, so we are prepared. We're also going to have the One UN family participating there in Robertsport and our fishing community. So we welcome all of you to join us in the beautiful city of Robertsport, where we're going to be having the games. We also want to thank Ambassador Ali Kebe for providing all of the jerseys, the trophies, the medals. This is what we call interagency coordination. We tap into where we have the expertise, and so we save resources. On the 17th of November, we have the inter-university debate and a career day at the University of Liberia main campus. Stella Maris Polytechnic will be going against the United Methodist University on topics related to fisheries. We're also going to have the sophomore student at the Department of Aquaculture and Fisheries Sciences at the University of Liberia going against the junior student at the same university. The European Union is sponsoring this activity. As I said, one of the things we did when we took over was to restore good donor confidence. And so at NaFAA we established what we call the Fisheries Development Partner Coordination Group. NaFAA is the chair, the European Union is co-chair. And so we have our partners that have gained much more value in the kind of work we do. On the 18th of November, we're going to have awareness and sanitation campaign on 2 beaches, Popo Beach and West Point. Those activities are being supported by Conservation International and JICA. And then on the 21st of November will be the grand event in Buchanan, Grand Bassa County with the indoor activity. Our own Senegal boy is putting together a masterpiece for the fishery sector. That should be coming up early next week. And so it's exciting to have him on board. Promoting trade is also a key aspect of NaFAA's activity. And so on the 28th of November, we're going to be having a live fish market day at the NaFAA's headquarters. Our fishmongers are prepared to do the exhibition of the various kinds of species in our waters. We have fish for sale, lobster, crab, crayfish, just anything you can think about, tilapia, catfish, anything you can think about, and it will be live. We are inviting the public to join us. Let's celebrate our mothers. These are people who do a lot. The First Lady of the Republic of Liberia, hopefully, will be there to grace the occasion and open it up. Colleagues, we've talked a lot, but again, let me re-emphasize that on the 24th, Liberia makes history, and that history is the commissioning of Liberia's first semi-industrial fiberglass vessel. So again, you are all invited. Looking ahead, we want to indicate that Liberia is preparing for a major event February 16 to the 17th, 2026. And that event is a National Fisheries Investment Conference. We've already recruited an event planning firm to drive the process. We are anticipating around 300 to 350 guests, locally and internationally. The rationale for that is for us to disclose, be able to present our comparative advantage in the sector so that we tap into private capital and also tap into development finances. And so that event, hopefully, will be held either at the Farmington Hotel or at the Ambassador Hotel in Mayhew County. We'll definitely keep you updated along the way. As we look to the future, fellow Liberians, our commitment remains unwavering to build a fisheries sector that is modern, transparent, and inclusive. Together with our partners, together with government, we will continue to protect our marine resources, empower our communities, and transform Liberia's fisheries into a driver for national growth and prosperity. Before I take my seat, or before I entertain your questions, let me indicate that Liberia is presently serving yellow card from the European Union because of an act that was created in 2017. That yellow card means that we have some restrictions as it relates to vessels in our waters. We are working strongly with the European Union. In fact, a consultant has been recruited through the European Union to be able to work with Liberia to remove the yellow card. We are very confident that come next year, this yellow card will be history for our country. Thank you.
Thank you, Gigi. We have a lot of break. Please stand in the queue. You listen to the Lieutenant General very well. Now, saying our question, they are coming in queue. The list of concern will be adjourned by him. The quality note of the questions, the secretary at time, will respond. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
My name is Joseph Yakula and I will vote for MICAT. In 2023, there was an agreement signed by NaFAA and Hon.J government. We will have fun with that agreement. That's one. Two, in the same 2023, NaFAA banned the sale of hormone market to our fish members. But we still see the sale of hormone in the market. And the exposure was why.
Thank you very much, the Director General of the National Fisheries and Aquaculture Authority, in the Honorable Saygbe. My name is Stephen Sopon and I report for the Liberian News Agency. Aside in the back, inquired to listen to the presentation, which is plus for our country. Because after my attention has been drawn to talk about new fishing vessel, or how do you call it, glass power vessel that is expected in Liberia to be launched by His Excellency the President. But looking at the community and social impacts, one, what role the local communities, especially women and youth, have in the operations associated with this vessel, and two, are there plans for benefit sharing with the coastal fishing communities? And the last one is that how will semi-skilled fishers be protected or supported as the new vessel enter the fisheries industry of our country? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Director General, my name is Desmond Women. I report for Democracy Watch newspaper. Let me say thanks to you for that polished presentation. Basically, I want to inquire on behalf of rural community dwellers. The institution you serve or serving is very crucial to the development of our country. So I want to be a much more clearer in terms of specificity to get account on, because it is reported lessons are generating huge billions of dollars into our economy. So in terms of specificity, how many licenses on your watch have you issued, to whom have you issued, and what particular process was the issuance of those licenses applied? And just a follow-up to that, the rural community dwellers, the fishermen and fisherwomen, a lot of reforms you spoke about, they are very good. How can you confirm the real impact change in those dwellers, especially talking about the safety on sea of fishermen? And just to finalize, what was your targeted budget into the past budget year, and how much did you commit to the national government? Thank you.
So my name is Joseph Selim. I am a library journalist. My first question goes to the head of NaFAA. When you took over the institution, I believe that you conducted an audit. You get to tell us what the outcome of that audit conducted at the institution. And due to that, our files and models that do use that carry out fishing in our waters, usually they take their fish and just take it to the market. We don't really see the added advantage to that in terms of revenue. I want to know, are you putting system in place to ensure that we can bring in investors that they can get the fish on our budget and help to generate huge revenue in our economy? Thank you.
Good afternoon, and loudest today as we talk for native to East Africa. My first question goes to Mr. Saygbe. Yesterday, the Ministry of Finance and Development appeared and talking about the national budget in the tune of 1.2 billion. As government, what is the sustainable plan you have so that we can be able to maintain such budget moving forward? And then to the Director General, I want to know, of all what you said, I didn't hear you talking about your relationship with the Agriculture Ministry, because they too have a part of play when it comes to fish and other related issues that happen in the community. Thank you.
Good afternoon, my name is Desmond Christopher, and I report for Inside Liberia. Honorable Managing Director, Director General, with the many developments you highlighted that you intend to undertake at NaFAA, talking about revenue generation to the national government coverage, you didn't talk anything of that. And follow up to that, your predecessor, along with the University of Liberia, established a new department at the University of Liberia, which is the Future in Agriculture, for which we have students studying a particular department. Again, with the main development, you didn't talk about incorporation with these students, so I want to know where are we with these students when it comes to fisheries. Thank you.
Good afternoon, my name is Jackson Shepherd, and I report for Sentinel Psychology. So my question first has to go to Mr. Sandro. You were talking about acquisition of properties by government officials that look questionable. Are we going to be focusing on justice by assumption, because most of the time when people are appointed to government positions and then over the time they amass their wealth, sometimes there must be proper investigation, because not everybody will be maybe interested in lavishing or getting the little one that it gets or spending it on any other thing but to build themselves. Yeah, so the next question I have to ask I asked a question. I said, is it going to be by justice based on assumption in line with those that have been accused of massive of wealth at the expense of the ordinary citizens? Yeah, so the next question goes to the Director General of NaFAA. My question has to do with the exclusive economic zone of Liberia. How rich is our exclusive economic zone? Because we talk about fishing, and how best NaFAA been doing to make sure that they develop the resources in our fishery sector, especially in our waters, in our exclusive economic zone, to make sure that we can continue fishing without much problem. Thank you.
So the questions by journalists is response by the Director General Agriculture Authority. Keep forward.
The NaFAA Moroccan agreement, now the first question. the NaFAA Moroccan agreement. So when we took over, we first engaged a series of partners, and one of them was the Moroccan. The agreement was signed, it was developed rather, signed, was never executed. And so we thought to revisit the agreement. We had a meeting last month with the ambassador, and in fact the Moroccan government is also now on the development partner working group. So what was within that agreement that we didn't follow up on was the issue of knowledge sharing, technology transfer. And so based on our engagement with the new ambassador, there have been a series of interests now to see how we can tap into the rich knowledge of the Moroccans. We all know Morocco plays a very critical role in terms of fisheries in Africa and around the world. And so we are going to deepen in those discussions to be able to get them coming on board. The moment ban, someone asked that. So the practice was actually banned, not moment. The practice was such that some of the fishermen would throw their nets. Instead of going back for their net in the evening, when it's in the morning, when they throw it in the morning, they will wait for 2-3 days for the fish to get rotting in the ocean. And that was a very bad practice. And so against that background, NaFAA issued a decree that that practice should stop. But moment hasn't stopped. I think we still see it around the market. No, we can stop moment. That is something that we all enjoy with dry rice and other things, so we can stop that. The next thing that was happening was that some of our fishing folks were using formaldehyde to process it. And we all know it's a dangerous chemical. And so our observers, our inspectors and what have you, began to ensure that those practices were stopped. So it was the practice and not the product itself. You asked about a new fishing vessel. When I spoke about an industrial fishing vessel, let me also quickly correct that. It's actually 200 metric tons instead of 200,000. When I spoke about an semi-industrial fishing vessel, I left out the 25 canoes that are also being developed, being fabricated here in Liberia. So there are 25 fiberglass canoes being developed somewhere in Banja. That is almost at completion. What we are doing is to introduce what we call incubation program, to allow fishmongers and other business people to go through business development skills, and so they will move into a pitch competition to be able to win those vessels. So that's one of the ways in which the community dwellers will benefit from these industrial fleets. The next way is that I spoke about our low productivity in terms of our harvest. 53,000 metric tons against 253,000. That's very, very low. And so we needed to introduce new fisheries that will help to increase production. And so that fisheries will be looking at something around the 4 nautical miles. Fishermen, definitely, they coexist. They provide support to one another. And so we don't see conflict coming up. We've been having a series of discussions with the Liberia Artisanal Federation to just make them to understand the importance of ensuring, because if we do not harvest, definitely natural mortalities will begin to take place in the waters. And if natural mortality takes place, what happens? I mean, revenue is going, resources going, food security is being tampered with. So that's one of the ways in which they are going to benefit. Also, we introduced what we call the automatic identification system called the AIS transponders. Those are equipment that we provided to fishermen to take along with them on sea, so that when there's stress on them, when there's an odd condition on them, when they are in danger, they are able to alert us, and we quickly inform the coast guards to move in. Unfortunately, some of the fishermen got afraid and said we wanted to spy on them. And so they took the AIS and kept it home. When they found out that the waves were creating havoc for them and their colleagues, and there was some death on sea, then they began to realize the importance of the AIS. Just a few days ago, one of them gave a confession through the AIS when the tide was very high and they were almost at the verge of capsizing and they couldn't find their way back home. They alighted and pressed the button on the AIS, and we got it straight at our fisheries monitoring center. We informed the coast guards and they went straight to rescue them. And so they begin to realize now that it's important for them to use it. What we are working with now is to see how we can get compass and GPS for them, so that when they go, sometimes they go up to 12, 13, 14, 15 nautical miles, very far, and so they do not know their way back home. But at least if they have the GPS, AIS and everything, they're able to alert us to solve that problem. So that's the benefit of the road dwellers. For licenses, to date, through the Fisheries Information Management System, we provided permits, at least around 34 permits. And those permits have been very, very, cautious in a way that we take it to a whole review committee to see what kind of fish we bring in, where it's coming from, what kind of vessel bringing it. Because we want to be overly careful with illegal fishing. So that has helped us a lot. Some of the bigger vessels are now coming forth because this is the season for tuna fishing. Tuna is one of the dedicated species in our waters. So this is the season. Whenever you see mackerel coming plenty on the market, you must know tuna fish ready. So last month, I guess some of you started seeing mackerel. But unfortunately, you can't sell tuna here because it's expensive. One tuna, 6 of us in a room can live it. All right? And so it's an export commodity, an export species. But we are not benefiting the revenue, as I said, because they have to go to other areas to offload. The reforms, we talked about the safety measures. Someone mentioned the Department of Agriculture. When we took over, we dedicated that. And we gave kind of credit to our predecessor. We indicated government is continuity, my people. We are in these positions today. We have the authority because of the position we were. If I leave from here tomorrow as an ordinary citizen, you think a development partner will be answering me to come for a meeting? No. But we are privileged here today from His Excellency so that these partners listen to us. We work with them. So when someone leaves the stage, the next person comes and continue. Why do we have to pay $3.1 million debt? Because government is continuity. So we can't say I wasn't there so I can't pay. No, we have to pay. You don't expect me to be wearing one t-shirt or sambo and put my predecessor picture on it everywhere I go. That's what we want. Government is continuity, it's government. And so we have to now take the bull by the horn and drive what has happened. The good things happen, the bad things happen. But let's see how we can build up on the good ones and then we move on and transform the bad ones. So those are areas we look at. We invited the CSA, even though NaFAA is not under the CSA, but we invited the CSA to do credential audit for all of our staff. That report came forth. The CSA pointed out that there were a lot of discrepancies in salaries. Drivers, same qualification, some making 150, some making 300. We had to look at it to make sure we abolish the discrepancies. Higher level positions, some people so many years of experience, qualification, but they were making far lower. A manager would be making something around maybe $1,000, another manager is making something around $600, but the same qualification. So there were discrepancies, which of course we had to correct. We also talked about the revenue generation to government coffers. When we met the 2025 budget, we did a quick recast because we needed to now synchronize based on our priorities, based on where we want to go. Within our recast budget, we indicated that we're going to give $200,000 as our contribution to government this year within the recast. The reason is simple. We cannot have a $3.1 million debt that we haven't paid. Revenue is something just around maybe $3 million. You have 203 staff that you have to pay salary up to $2.something million every year. And so we said, hey, we went to the Ministry of Finance. This is what NaFAA can afford now based on the prevailing situation. Next year, we're going to do $500,000. And we kind of committed to it. As things improve, we're going to improve our contribution to government. And that's the reason why we're doing all we can to bridge the infrastructure gap and be able to identify various revenue sources. When I spoke about the industrial fish breeding something in clear, that again will be outsourced to a private company. When I also spoke about the integrated fish farm, it will be outsourced to a private company. The semi-industrial vessel that is here in few hours, that will be commissioned, will be outsourced to a private company. And so those will be many ways in which NaFAA will be generating revenue to cover the deficit we met. Unfortunately, $350,000 in account, $3.1 million debt. In 2018, over $1 million in the account, no liabilities, no debt. So you see where we stand? But that's the reason why His Excellency trusted us to come in and make a difference and do what we can. The IZ, someone spoke about the IZ, and I mentioned that we have very lucrative stock. 253,000 metric tons of deep water fish, 94,000 metric tons of surface water fish. That tells you that Liberia Ocean is one of the best and most lucrative. We have a total coastline of around 579 kilometers, one of the longest. All right? Once we begin to guide and safeguard, what we've also done, the issue of illegal fishing become rampant. Not only in Liberia, across the Gulf of Guinea. We introduced a new technology now called the quartermaster. I can be at my house and I get live video feed coming from the ocean. And we are able to see the movement of those vessels and what they are doing. When we catch them, God eagle, nothing less than a $1.5 million fine and by our laws. And we're doing everything we can to make sure that we don't compromise. Because that was the compromise that was done in 2017 that led to the yellow card. We are not going to repeat it. We are very intentional. And so we're reinforcing. We are doing a joint patrol with Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, come next year. The Coast Guards, we have very good relationship with them, thanks to the Defense Minister. We're trying to see how we can make that patrol active and introduce artificial intelligence that will also monitor vessels coming in our waters. So we're going digital, we're going technology. I hope I answered everything so far. Anything I left out?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, sir.
Your relationship with the Agriculture Ministry is
okay. So NaFAA was under the Ministry of Agriculture at the Bureau of National Fisheries. Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf saw the need that based on the potential of this institution, let us disengage. And so the act of the legislature in 2017 established NaFAA. As it stands, the Ministry of Agriculture has no role in fisheries. All fisheries and fish-related product is the National Fisheries and Aquaculture Authority. But we have a very good relationship with the Ministry of Agriculture because we fall under the bill. In fact, the Minister of Agriculture is the chair for the board for NaFAA. So the relationship is good. We're working towards to drive the sector. Fisheries contribute 10% to the agriculture GDP and 3% to the overall GDP. We need to improve that. And so we're working with the ministry to make sure we have that. At the National Fair coming up, the National Agriculture Fair, NaFAA going to be present to be able to execute some of these activities.
Did you conduct any audit?
Please give him a chance.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Please give him a chance.
Were there any audit conducted at your entity? If yes, what was the outcome?
So we did an internal review because the GSC was already about to start an audit, which of course the GSC is now auditing 2024 books. But we did our own internal review from January up to April, where we were. And what we saw, we decided that we needed to put systems in place. Because there were payments that were done to staff, in the name of staff, to execute on behalf of institutions that had to stop. There were other payments that were done from fishermen and what have you were never deposited in NaFAA's account that had to stop. We got some of the staff red-handed. We've asked them to restitute their amounts. And that's what we are doing. And so 2024 audit, definitely the GSC is on it. Hopefully in the next month or two, that audit should be coming up between 2023 and 2024. The next thing we also did our own background on was the Japanese outboard engines. The government of Japan donated up to 400 plus engines to Liberia to be distributed to fishermen. Unfortunately, those were mismanaged. We also did a full report and submitted to the Ministry of Information, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, because they are the direct liaison with the government of Japan. So that report is there. It's also going to be coming up in the audit. So there were a lot of discrepancies we saw that we flagged because we want to make sure we start at a clear footing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, sir. Excuse me. You get to change your money from what?
Listen to what I said and follow the trend of events in the country as far as fighting corruption is concerned. We will conclude that the fight against corruption is based on mere assumption. Nobody goes to court on assumption. The government was fighting corruption selectively, assuming that somebody is corrupt, and you take action. Those actions will have been fought by thorough investigation by the LCC. Will be fought by indictment and prosecution in some instances. So there's no assumption here. What you are witnessing is, shall I say, a manifestation of the true intent of the chief executive of the country. Because if somebody who believes that Liberian citizens deserve to get more than what they have gotten from their country, believe that public resources should be used for the intended purposes. And now somebody sitting somewhere and diverting public money to private use. And I'm not mindful, said people build houses. Of course, you are official government, you earn your money right there. You can use your money the way you want it. You can build your house, nobody will go after you. But when we talk about lifestyle audit, I mean, I'm a deputy minister now. If I build a single house, it's understandable. But how you comprehend tomorrow and say, go downtown, Great Line, and see all the chains of apartments are sitting there for deputy minister assembly. Get started back and say, where did he get the money from? Because he is only a public official. What we earn as public official is public. So as soon as you're saving all your salary, the most you can do is to build a house or a two for yourself. And that's the only kind of property, $6 million property and $843 million property. I mean, it's questionable. So they're not guessing. I think what the asset recovery has done is to painstakingly initiate an investigative process. And you saw at the press briefing, they display all of the video footages of the properties that were acquired from these proceeds by a former chief of police of the president. And they also have access to all the bank account transfer and everything. I mean, I would not want to mention a daughter who doesn't live here, but I mean, it has also come to the attention of our attention that she was the manager of this anti-group company in Silicon, lavishing lifestyle that she lives on social media. Where do you get all the money from that you are wallowing in worth? When there are people here who are being strangulated, they can go to school, you can get hospitals working because there's no money. So it's not selective, just an attempt to end the vicious cycle that our country has gone through for a very long period of time. It's an attempt to break that cycle. It's an attempt to end the culture of impunity. Giving people the opportunity to account for their actions. That's all. You asked what are we doing to maintain the trend in the budgetary increment of the country. If you listen to what the Finance and Development Minister says, a significant portion of the the billion-dollar budget, draft budget currently before the legislation is based on domestic revenue. So what we're saying to you, that's why the LRA was here, is that we want to expand the capacity of the government to mobilize resources domestically. And when we talk about digitizing the economy, these are all efforts geared toward expanding the national revenue generation. So when you ask me what I want to do to maintain that trend, of course, we're going to focus on domestic resource mobilization, enhancing the capacity of revenue generating entities. Like yesterday you saw huge allotment to the LRA. It is also meant to enhance the capacity of the LRA to generate more revenue. I think those were all of the questions. Hope I didn't overlook anybody. If I didn't, then I would want to draw this press conference to a close. And we look forward to seeing you on Thursday. Thank you very much.
So we just listened to Daniel Samuel, Deputy Minister of Affairs and Public Affairs, here at the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism, and the Director General of the National Fishery and Aquaculture Authority, Honorable Chris Saygbe. So I would like to say, for those of you who will be following, I would like to say thanks for following, thanks for watching this live coverage. So do join us Thursday for another edition of the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism Press Briefing. Until then, bye from my end. My name is Marciana.